In this video, we will be taking a look at the top 10 upcoming survival horror games in 2016 and 2017. Let's get right into this. Number 10, What Remains of Edith Finch. What Remains of Edith Finch is a collection of short stories about a cursed family in Washington State. You follow Edith Finch as she explores the history of her family. Each of the stories in the game tells the experience in the life of a different family member with time periods ranging from the early 1900s to present day. The gameplay and tone of each story are also varied as the family members themselves are. The only thing similar is that each story is played from a first-person perspective and each conclude with that family member's death. The game arrives exclusively to the PlayStation 4 this summer. Number 9, Last Year. Last Year is a 5-on-1 multiplayer survival horror game where 5 players play as a group of high school characters and must survive against the one player that's playing as the killer. As the students, your goal is to escape from East Side Highschool and make it out alive. You'll have to work together and search for resources and craft weapons. If you're playing as the killer, it'll be a completely different experience as you'll be hunting down and ambushing players as they try to escape. There are a variety of different killers to play as, and each one has their own unique weapons and abilities. Last Year looks like a very cool multiplayer game. It's targeted for a November release. Number 8, The ABDUCTIONS. This is a first-person horror game developed using the Unreal Engine 4. The ABDUCTIONS is touted as an immersive and frightening story-driven game. In the game, you play as Holly Sanders, a mother and a wife who is living through hard times since her husband's mysterious vanishing months ago. She's lonely and disturbed with her son as the only company she has. Throughout the game, Holly will uncover past and present events of the Sanders family while approaching a terrifying revelation. The game still doesn't have a release date as of the recording of this video, but this is one you're gonna want to keep your eye on. Number 7, Perception. Perception is being developed by Deep End Games, an independent game studio comprised of people who worked on games such as BioShock, Dead Space, and more. Their first game, Perception, is a first-person narrative horror game that tells the story of Cassie, a blind girl who uses her exceptional hearing and sharp wits to solve the mysteries of an abandoned estate that haunts her dreams. The game from an art point of view looks fantastic, and the music and voice acting is on point too. From what we've seen, Perception seems to create a very eerie vibe that horror games strive to do. Perception doesn't have an exact release date yet, but it should arrive sometime this year.
Hello? No, what do you want from me?
Number 6, Friday the 13th, The Game. A third-person multiplayer horror game. In Friday the 13th, you take the role of either a teen counselor or Jason. The focus of Friday the 13th is the multiplayer. One player is Jason against a group of 7 other players who are a group of teen counselors trying to survive through the night. As Jason, you'll have to stalk your prey and ambush them whenever you see possible. The game will include multiple different kills, new and old. You'll also be able to unlock various incarnations of Jason from the movies as well as 2 entirely new designs. Friday the 13th is coming fall this year. Number 5, PAMELA. PAMELA is a survival horror game currently exclusive to PC. You'll have to explore and survive in a utopian future ravaged by humanity's misguided pursuit of perfection. The game is providing a variety of different gameplay options. You need to survive by eating, sleeping, and finding shelter. You can build your own safe haven by utilizing the advanced technology in the world. You'll unveil mysteries within the walls of this utopian society. And of course, you'll have to fight against the residents of the world by using advanced equipment and weaponry. Visually and artistically, this game looks amazing. The scenery and world look beautiful. The game is scheduled to release this year.
I'm sorry, but I need you to wake up now.
Number 4, Routine. Routine is a first-person horror exploration game set on an abandoned moon base. You are tasked to find enough data to uncover the truth behind the strange disappearance of everyone stationed on the Lunar Research Station. From the footage we've seen so far, this game has a very dark and realistic art style that adds a lot to the atmosphere. Not only that, the audio also makes the game very atmospheric, and it all blends together to offer a very unique horror experience. Now, this is a game that's been in development for a very long time, but keep in mind it's being created by a very small studio, so cut them some slack. Hopefully we'll get our hands on Routine this year. Number 3, We Happy Few. Taking place in a retro-futuristic 1960s England, We Happy Few is a survival roguelike game where you have to hide in plain sight among the citizens of Wellington Wells. Everything appears to be great in Wellington Wells, but in reality, it's on the brink of a collapse. You'll discover the history of this world and how it came to be so happy. The game has a very mature story. The characters in the game aren't your typical video game heroes. The characters are all flawed and not very heroic. Each character has their own storyline reacting to the events in the world. These stories are intended for an adult audience filled with dark humor, hope, and redemption. We Happy Few is scheduled to release this year and will feature early access on Steam and Microsoft Game Preview. Number 2, Outlast 2. Outlast 2 is a game we don't know much about. It's obviously the sequel to the very well-received original Outlast game. Outlast 2 will be another twisted journey into the human mind and its dark secrets. Red Barrels has a description of the game stating the following: "No conflict is ever black and white, but once the dust has settled, the victors get to decide who was right and who was wrong, who is good and who is evil. Human nature pushes us to the extremes of violence and depravity, which we then justify by divine inspiration and promise of paradise to come. Horror rises from desperation and blind faith. Outlast 2 will test your faith, pushing players to a place where going mad is the only sane thing to do." Sounds interesting to say the least. Outlast 2 is set to release this fall. And finally, number 1, Allison Road. Allison Road is a first-person survival horror game where you play as an unnamed protagonist. One day you wake up without any recollection of prior events. Over the course of 5 nights, it is your objective to uncover the whereabouts of your family, unravel the mysteries of your house, all while facing off against dark entities that are nested deep within the walls. Judging by the gameplay we've seen thus far, Allison Road is a game that embodies horror and fear. These days, it's hard for a game to invoke real fear in a player, but while watching Allison Road gameplay, I was genuinely spooked out. The game releases Q3 this year, and this is one that has the potential to set the bar for horror games. So that wraps up our countdown of the top 10 upcoming survival horror games. What do you think? Are you excited for any of these games? Which of them will you be picking up? Let us know in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.